People always have to face many kinds of situations, including good happy moments, sad heartbreaking moments, and shocked devastated moments. We never know what things are stored up for us in the future. Sometimes, different situations suddenly rise up in our lives, which we have never ever thought will happen to us. Therefore, we must make sure that we have a brave heart and are ready to face any situation that may arise in the future. Such sudden situations also include being embarrassed in front of a crowd of people. What a shame to be blamed or harassed in front of that many people. And if you are not the one at fault for such mistakes, how would you feel when people start to laugh at you and criticize you for something that you have never done? No one will ever feel at ease in such a situation. So today, we have found a real-life story which will enhance the above fact of being mistakenly embarrassed in front of crowds of people, and left heart-shocked at the end. Before going, make sure you have subscribed to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with our latest updates. Sonia was a beautiful girl, who was so much devoted to the god from the early young days itself. Both her mother and father were careless and always left her alone and went in search of their own lives. Little Sonia had nothing to do, so she always prayed to the god, which made her more and more devoted to the god. One day, Sonia's parents left her, where Sonia had to find a way to live. She got admitted into the Covenant of Poor Clare nuns, and from the moment that she was left by her parents, a woman near the convent started to look after Sonia. Sonia was still a little girl that Antonio, the humble caretaker, looked after her very well. Antonio worked at the butcher in the mornings, and in the evenings, she worked for a very wealthy family in cleaning and doing other minor jobs. It was like she devoted herself to the upbringing of this little girl. She did everything that she could to make her a happy and healthy child. The woman at the house where Antonio worked at night had bought a golden rosary for her daughter and told Antonio that she will buy another golden rosary for Antonio's girl when she takes her religious photos. Antonio thanked the woman for her kindness and told her that Sonia was still a little girl and that it would take so much time for her to take religious photos. Sonia studied hard and became a praised kid at the convent where her appearance made others very satisfied. After studying at the Poor Clare Sisters Covenant, Sonia became a saint in the chapel. From that moment itself, she became more and more devoted in praying and meditating, where she forgot to attend for the daily classes at the chapel. She was only believing in God and could not stop herself from praying that her mother and Antonio both suggested that it was better to keep her living as she wanted to because she was so much devoted to the religion. And with that decision, no one ever tried to persuade her for classes. She became a free person and her mind was full of devoted work. She took care of the praying at the rosaries when someone died and when there was any special occasion at the chapel. She also organized the December posadas and novenas of the different saints who worshipped in her surrounding. She helped the poor people around the neighborhood, and all the poor loved her for being such a kind and care-hearted person. She became popular among other saints for her brave and kind work for the poor people. As there were only a limited resource availability, she had to work hard for the benefit of everyone in need. She provided food for the poor neighbors who did not have the ability to find on their own. Some of the rich neighbors around Covenants started to help Sonia to accomplish her goals in feeding the hungry. They donated their good and money in the name of feeding the poor to Mother and Sonia, where both of them added up all their things and made food for the need every day. Sonia not only fed the poor, she also made up a beauty salon where she took the poor people without a charge and gave them clean haircuts and new clothes. They were very much thankful for Sonia's kindness and praised and prayed for her every night. She studied hard on her religion and became a successful saint by the age of 15. Her mother, being happy about her little saint, organized a function to celebrate Sonia's hard work. She also wanted to know whether she was interested in men other than the little kids who would cuddle up around her whenever they see her. She was so confirmed about herself that she told the mother that only man her life belongs to is to Jesus Christ. She never had a special feeling for any other men, as she was very much devoted to her religious work. Soon she was 18 years and was in a state where she could be responsible for her own work. The first thing she did was negotiate with her sisters at the Poor Clare Covenant. She was very active in Covenant and therefore on vocations, became so much stronger than before, that meant she had studied hard for the process of negotiations. She was so sad about the sick and old sisters of the Covenant who worked hard for the well-being of the little nuns-to-be. Sonia looked after them and cared for them every time possible. Finally, the bishop and the mother of the Covenant decided to hold the function of naming Sonia and 6 other saints officially as nuns. They made huge preparations for the beautiful event, as they were very happy to be finally named as official nuns. Antonio even prepared an expensive lunch to celebrate her daughter's ceremonious day. Even all the members in the neighborhood, who were being helped by this beautiful young girl, came to witness this event. Sonia was very happy to see everyone, who were looking forward eagerly for her success and happiness. She thought how much has she helped these people in making a living, that they even come to visit her in her success. The ceremony started, and it was the time for the 6 saints to give the vows. Sonia was the last to give her vows. She saw how 5 of her friends gave their vows and were extremely happy about being a nun. She was desperately waiting for her time, but in the next minute, something horrible happened, making the whole crowd of people shocked. It was Sonia's time to give her vows, and just before she started to speak, the bishop shouted at her, telling, "How dare you sit in front of the altar in that shape?" Sonia was surprised to hear the ranged voice of the bishop. She couldn't understand a word he said. Everybody watched at Sonia with vicious eyes, and she could not stop herself from being embarrassed. She could not think what was wrong with her shape that the bishop had to yell at her in front of a huge crowd. She was looking forward to this event in her whole life, so much that she didn't want to ruin it. The journalists who were there to cover the event slowly stepped near Sonia to capture her shape. On the other side of the cruel words stuck in her head, and could not think of anything else. She felt dizzy as the people gathered around her. She felt like her mind was running away from her. In that next second, she fell down, fainted on the altar itself. Antonio was so shocked to see what was happening to the little girl. She could not bear people yelling and embarrassing her Sonia. She quickly got up from her seat and ran towards the fainted girl. The mother of the Covenant quickly called an ambulance, and in a few minutes, the medical staffs arrived and took Sonia with them. Everyone was shocked so much that they could not continue the ceremony. You may be thinking, what had really happened with Sonia? What was wrong with her shape? Why did the bishop yell at her? Alright, the answers for those questions will be a little bit sad. When Sonia was about to take her vows, the bishop saw that her belly was not normal. It was large and swollen, as of a pregnant woman. The bishop thought that this unfaithful woman was disgracing the religion and the god. He was furious that he could not talk this matter in a simple way, therefore he shouted at Sonia in front of the whole crowd. Sonia was taken to the hospital, where the doctors saw that her belly was as big as a pregnant woman. They believed that she was pregnant and treated her like one of them, but they learned the story at the church by Antonio that they thought of doing a pregnancy checkup. She was still unconscious, that they could not proceed with pregnancy tests. The news spread so quickly that the headlines of many news reporters were the story of the nun being pregnant. Even her father, who lived far away from her, got to know of the story of Sonia when he visited the hospital as soon as possible, not to check whether his daughter was okay, but to blame her and Antonio for her irresponsible work. The furious bishop shocked people, and the media troops were all waiting outside the hospital until Sonia was conscious enough to do the pregnancy test. Antonio pleaded in front of the god to protect her little girl. She claimed that Sonia will never act in such a way, and she will never commit such a crime in front of the god. The superior mother at the Covenant was also very sure that Sonia was not pregnant, and said that she would put her hands in the fire if Sonia had done such a crime. Antonio, mother at the Covenant, neighborhood people, and Sonia's colleagues were all praying for Sonia's quick recovery. Hours passed and Sonia regained consciousness, where the doctors quickly checked up her. All of them were waiting for the results of the test performed. The doctors were surprised and shocked with the results of the test. Later that day, doctors revealed that Sonia was not pregnant, but having a kidney failure where water inside the body was stacked up for a long time and made her stomach swollen. Sonia was taken for a surgery in order to remove the excess water in her body. With the reveal of the real reason behind her swollen belly, the slanders who mistook the young woman as an unfaithful person who disgraced the god felt ashamed of themselves. They were so sorry to Sonia. Sonia didn't get angry upon the mistakes. She instead preached them that the one who is faithful to the god will never be left alone by the god. So that's the end of today's video, where we brought you the story of Sonia, which taught us to become a kind and timid person who will do the right thing no matter what happens in their lives. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with our latest updates. See you in our next video.